This will be a regular collective reading really quickly, just to see what the collective energy is for those that stumble on this video. Sorry. All right, collective, we'll get a bit of this, maybe some tarot, something about power structures like authority figures, old styles of karmic patterns, could be changing. Yeah, there's something about like a question of union or like a union of something, like a union of states. Check out my collective elections type reading that I posted before this video. Um, and sorry, collectives. Did I say collections? I don't know, something about collecting something interesting. Yeah, it's like almost people have to gather strength before they can move towards some kind of epiphany out of some kind of lack. You can see he looks like he's like broken chains off towards the future. This is my most future position here, and it's interesting how it kind of looks like it descends, like a kind of graph where it's like profits are skyrocketing downwards. Like I don't know, not skyrocketing. I guess hell rocketing would be a better term. We're gonna grab some more ethereal these decks for the collective messages, most pertinent messages. Okay. Sulfur. Ooh, that's dark. That's cool. I mean, I am currently filming this while Moon has just squared off with Pluto, so very intense dark energy. That Pluto in Capricorn, which rules bureaucracies and governments, squaring off with the Moon in Aries, which is like war, conflict, tyranny, dictatorships, selfishness, war, like death itself, the soldier, right? Cops, like just really negative. Oh, that's interesting, because like I'm just wait. Yeah, that's really interesting because I've been contemplating just the energy of Capricorn, like Saturn and Aries, for the little bit because we have Saturn moving into Aries, I believe, next year, and this is kind of like a precursor to that energy. I just realized. Oh, that's interesting. A little bit. Okay, it's like a little flavor of conflict. All right. Mhm. Pushing us towards something greater, towards something daring, bold. You could feel, you could sense this in the air, you know, like people are kind of a bit on edge, maybe even. So let me just find this. There we go, 145. It's kind of calling me back to my elections collective reading, which is interesting. Just with that strong Leo energy, combining with the Cancer energy, this kind of because we do have Mars actually going direct. You know, it's going to be between Cancer and Leo for the next 2 months or so, or three. Retrograding back into Cancer. It's in Leo right now, I believe, but it was in Cancer previously, so you might find you're revisiting those issues. But Cancer rules territorially, like protecting your homeland, anything to do with the home, the family, like genetics, like you know your mother, the feminine's role in society, children, um, and then we have Leo, which is the celebrity, the father figure, the attention seeker sometimes, um, but on the bright side, the leader, someone who operates from their heart, if they have a genuine sense of heart, or are they just operating in a way to get attention, right? Um, Evaporation, up and out, both slash and. On an esoteric level, sulfur is the first of what is known in alchemy as tria prima or three primes, along with salt and mercury. So salt represents the kind of brining long-term Saturnian effect in Mercury, which you have stationing retrograde actually probably while Venus is in Capricorn, is in Sagittarius. So and then, of course, we have Jupiter and Gemini. Anyways, it makes up a threefold phenomenon, and three is Gemini, right? That symbolizes the uniting of soul, sulfur, body, salt, and mind, Mercury. Yeah, it's like body, mind, and soul, like the three, like in Christianity, right? Which is based on previous, like Egyptian um, spirituality. On a tactile level, sulfur is responsible for both the off putting smells and therapeutic properties of a mineral bath. It soothes and it stinks, literally. To understand sulfur is to embrace a both and mentality. Don't be discouraged if the meaning of this card seems to evaporate before your eyes for now. Keep in mind that what is gross contains beauty, and what is beautiful contains its own demise. So that's interesting because Moon Square Pluto, that kind of emotionality that's so dark, I would say probably. It really kind of makes people, you know, Pluto can rule fear in some sense, secrets, wealth, you know, death. So It's always good. It's like that goth vibe, right? Like white, pale skin, dark black hair is kind of the, it's kind of, that's why probably part of goth culture is a bit conservative, because it's not really fluid, I guess. I mean, it could be now, but. Mm. What is beautiful contains its own demise. Interesting. Because I was kind of contemplating this, how, they say Venus was captured by Hades, the god of the underworld, the god of Pluto, which we're in Scorpio season right now, because she was looking at her own reflection or something, or distracted by a beautiful flower called Narcissus or something, which kind of gives narcissist vibes, right? And how she's kind of so naive that she doesn't realize what Hades may be doing. So make sure you're not entering into contracts during Mercury retrograde if you can avoid it, maybe. Um, or there's just something dark about where Pluto is right now, definitely, like in Capricorn, about to go into Aquarius. Those two areas of your chart there could be something secretive there. Something kind of ending in Capricorn's area of your life before you see the darkness in Aquarius is to reform it, Um, mhm, mhm. It's like we'll get rewarded in our Capricorn part of our chart, and then also go right into a new cycle of learning, maybe. I don't know. Sulfur's job is to push the geyser up and out, dissipating the pressure. Yeah, so like we said, like there's just a lot of like conflictual energy right now, right? Don't be surprised if what appears to suck or stink soon becomes a great gift. Yeah, it could give people like the motive or the gumption or the drive, especially with Saturn and Neptune entering Aries next year. There's a lot of this kind of feisty energy. The start of a new era, right? So I'm just taking that from Adam Ellenboss's channel, I believe. He says something like that. Visitor look up the Sulphur Cauldron in Yellowstone National Park. So Yellowstone, the TV show, it's such a patriarchal, view in some way. It really is Capricornian for sure. It's about wealth. It's about lineage. It's about time. The Red Lion, to ponder the Red Lion. I think there was a Game of Thrones song about like the hand that gets bitten or something by the lion. Like maybe search up Game of Thrones lion, I think it was a red lion because it was like the Lancaster. I'm not sure if that, but maybe that song is relevant as a part of this collective. I think that was a time of change. It was a very aggressive song from what I remember. Um, I don't know much about Game of Thrones, but I just remember that song. If the sulfur card appears with any others from the Tria Prima, it is a sure sign that the link between them is underway. Some kind of grounding element here, just because it flipped in this direction, where it's like pointing down to the ground. Breakthrough. It's like breaking beyond some kind of darkness, perhaps. Yeah, because if it was upright, it would have been like almost emerging into darkness. But if you look at it this way, it's kind of like planting something, like planting light. Envision what is geyser like in your life right now. What needs to move up and out to be freed so it can evaporate? No, I think in this case it's more about establishing roots in some sense. It's giving me that vibe. It's like looking deep within. Um, We'll pull maybe some Egyptian cards, I think, for the collective. Last messages for the collective reading, please. Collective. Wow. We have Hermitage 20. So very strong Taurus energy. We have the full moon in Taurus at the end of this week conjoining Uranus, right? The boundaries that are breaking. And it's also, I believe Trump has Taurus placements, and that would be most likely in the constellation Algol, which is the demon's head, or a very malefic star, which can rule beheadings, right? Yeah, prosperity in the reverse. This could be a masculine, a Leo, some kind of pride, some kind of pride before the fall. Icarus, I think, is the name, where he flies too close to the sun. But it's almost like this is healing in some sense. It's like it kind of has to, yeah, like they said, that geyser kind of vibe. Yeah, especially with the breakthrough there, right on top of conflict, right? It's like this conflict had to come to show you that you were doubting yourself, to break through it or something, to have the courage to change, to break something, chains, boundaries, borders, karmic patterns, relationships with authority figures, your career, anything with to do with that, or someone older, or finances in general, some kind of like stability or mindset regarding long-term stability that might be changing. I think I'm going to end it here. Maybe we'll grab a piece of advice just to not leave you guys hanging. I think I left the elections reading a bit hanging, but I was just kind of doing the news report, I guess, there. So, collective advice, please. Collective advice, please. Collective advice. You know, this one's kind of calling to me. Tobacco, interesting. 40 there. Cancer energy. It's about honoring your ancestors. Grounding. Yeah. Feed your ancestors, raise the sacred smoke for them, for they are hungry to connect. Okay. Darkness falls right on top of that. This is not very supportive. This is a bit of a goth deck, evidently. But, you know, I can't ask the cards to lie. Probably a good thing they don't. And it is intense energy when I'm filming this with the moon square Pluto. So it is going to show us the darker elements of that transit long term. That we should probably start to think how we're going to deal with it and start to make changes. Purification, connecting to the spirits or ancestors in respect. Okay. Something about like slavery or like work could be important as well. Your higher self chose this card or bills because it's a request from the ancestors or spirits whom you're most comfortable to approach them and the people in your life with more respect or humility. Offering tobacco is a sign of respect and connection to ancestors in many cultures. Perhaps it's heard about most often in Native American traditions, but it's also common practice for many people in Africa, South America, and the Caribbean and the southern United States. So voodoo, hoodoo, you know, that ancestral veneration, that kind of working, you know, they say God is just a unity of souls. It's just a unity of feminine and masculine souls. So God is not one being. So you can see how they kind of wanted to change that in our world, just to kind of, you know, make a us versus them controlling scary scenario. When you greet the spirits that support your path, remember they see things you can't. They make space where you have faced walls, they lift you up and carry you over difficult terrain, and they know answers to important questions you haven't even thought of. There are people in your life who also have value and can fill the blanks with a new perspective that you have not considered. What your situation requires is an open mind to acknowledge your limited knowledge or understanding in your situation. The tobacco card invites you to spend more time listening and being engaged with others. You may have been too quick to dismiss someone as being wrong or silly, or have viewed someone as being unworthy of your attention. Keep a watchful eye for a younger person coming into your life, as they may offer something that is needed for your situation. Could be Scorpio as well, Gemini, or somebody that acts very youthful. Could be something about self-esteem. It's highlighting this number 12, so it really wants me to read that card for you guys. Facing your demons, acknowledging faults, and self-compassion. Within you live the hidden, the things that want nothing more than to swallow you whole. So that's why it's important to bring light to the shadows, to embrace it, to not, you know, there is a point for that kind of, there is a reason why wolves have claws. Your higher self chose this card because you have faults and have made mistakes. It's true that some mistakes are more costly than others, but no one lives a perfect life by any means. When you've made a misstep or when your faults put you in a sticky situation, defense mode can feel like a natural response. The wound from feeling less than is likely already triggered self-criticism, doubt, or even anger. And then also to bear the weight of someone else's disappointment, pain, anger, or criticism can feel like too much to carry. Before you know, darkness has fallen and you're operating from a shadowy place rather than standing in your light and giving yourself grace. You have pulled darkness falls because you're experiencing your situation from a dark place and reacting defensively. Interesting. Experiencing the situation from a dark place. Every story has two sides, and it might be time to consider whether or not you also share some blame in the current circumstances. This card does not guide you to view yourself in a negative light, but to act as a neutral bystander who is merely curious and observant. How might you advise a friend who is experiencing similar circumstances? Would you guide them to calm down and take deep breaths, explain to them how they might be wrong in this situation, or even say sorry? You might find clarity in the answers needed for a positive resolution once you observe your circumstances from the outside rather than deep inside your shadow. Perhaps you will discover you were right all along, or maybe you'll be forced to acknowledge your own faults. As C.S. Lewis said, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Yeah, this is something about a mindset shift, maybe like the way we express ourselves or the way that we think about the role of the feminine right now is really vitally important. Cancer energy, um, boundaries, borders, ancestors, very important, definitely. It's funny how they reference each other, these two cards actually. Um, so strong Taurus energy. It's funny because the constellation that has Medusa, the demon's head Algol, the conjunction that's happening in that full moon this tomorrow or the next day is about Medusa, and her head has snakes, three snakes specifically, and three eyes in her chest, and so she's really perceptive. There's something about seeing from multiple angles, embracing different the snakes can represent healing, turning venom to medicine. It was the first symbol of medicine, right? So there is some kind of, maybe there's a snake charming element here too, with the fox above there. There's some kind of growth from being witty for sure. Um, and there's some kind of elevation. It's giving like Harry Potter. Maybe Harry Potter will be relevant. Um, I mean, I know a lot of people are kind of making jokes about, when Voldemort was back in power and how that's kind of what's going on in the world. But anyways, yeah, healing could be really important. Tea, relaxing, trying to ground yourself as best you can, because that full moon in Taurus obviously is going to play a big role here in seeing something clearly with this mirror of the same gold, kind of referencing that. So really call in the light, focus on the light. Hermitage. I'm kind of curious about Konsu. You might want to look that up yourself. It looks like some kind of mummification. Um, but there's a beautiful crane there. There's a lotus. There's a nice brown eye. It's beautiful, very mysterious. There's like a giant staff, which is kind of giving Asclepius or Asclepius, which is kind of Chiron. We are approaching Sagittarius season, so we're kind of preparing to move out of some darkness, hopefully. Christmas, vibes there. But also the centaur, the Chiron centaur, the healer, the god of medicine could be relevant. So check out your Chiron placements. Maybe it's being affected. I'm sure we have Chiron right now conjoining Aries, actually conjoining the moon then tonight as well. That's squaring off with Pluto and Capricorn, just as the moon almost approaches Taurus, about to move into Taurus. So interesting energy, strong Aries energy for sure. Thank you for being here. Please hit like, comment, share, subscribe. You can get a personal by messaging me on Telegram. You can leave a tip through the Buy Me a Coffee link. Good luck. Take care.